Just a moment.
Inspiration can come from the strangest places sometimes. Grand Theft Auto more or less started as Pac-Man with gangsters. Smash Bros. Took inspiration from a children's marble game called Ohajiki. Link's Awakening's characters were in part based on Twin Peaks. And Crash Bandicoot was the result of taking Sonic and making it a 3D game played from behind the character, to the point that it was codenamed the Sonic's Ass game. Then there's Arzette, the Jewel of Faramore. Fans of either Legend of Zelda or YouTube Poop can immediately tell what inspired this game. Two Philips CDI Legend of Zelda titles, Faces of Evil and Wand of Gamelon. And there are several references to them as well as another CDI game, Hotel Mario, in the game's dialogue and design. Hell, the voices of Link and Zelda from those games both make appearances as narrators.
The traitorous Duke Nodelki was sentenced to a lifetime of hard labor.
You can crouch by moving down. Moving while crouching lets you duck walk.
And the connections go even deeper. The developer, Seth Dopley Fulkerson, learned how to program games in part by remastering Faces of Evil and Wand of Gamelon, fixing enemy hitboxes, adjusting the horrifically bad controls, changing enemy spawn locations, stuff like that. This not only fulfilled an in-joke among some of his friends, but served as the springboard to making his own game, which, as he phrased it, is a spiritual successor to a pair of infamous fantasy adventure titles. Also, he named his development team CDI, and its startup animation looks like this. I would call it his worst-kept secret, except it's not a secret at all. And the result is actually pretty good. The one decent thing about the source material, the soundtrack, is replicated here with something that sounds like it came from a CDI title. Aside from that, name something that sucked about the Zelda CDI games and odds are it's not here. The sprite work is crisp and well animated. Platforming quickly becomes second nature thanks to responsive controls, easy to grasp physics, and making it much easier to tell what is a platform and what is just a background piece. There are checkpoints throughout the levels, both as flags and after entering new areas. If you die, not only do you not lose a bunch of progress, but any special items picked up before dying stay with you. Some enemies don't immediately deal damage if you touch them, so if you accidentally land on one, you're not completely boned. No, wait, I didn't mean to—
Feeling bonesome tonight? Here's something that'll really have you all shook up. My work is pretty grave, but that doesn't mean I can't groove in my bone suede shoes.
Attacking with the sword does take getting used to, as there's a slight delay on it and most enemies and projectiles move toward Arzette at varying speeds. The first stage was rough in the beginning, but by the time I was through it, I'd gotten used to how it worked. The one thing that was bad and is still more or less the same is the cutscene animation style and voice direction. But here it's all very tongue-in-cheek and self-aware. Sort of like the title card for this series of videos. I could see this going over the heads of people not familiar with the unofficial source material, but even so, it has its redeemable qualities. Like how Arzette is not just a happy-go-lucky adventurer and does get visibly pissed off at some of the people she has to deal with along the way.
Careful, Arzy! Don't get red in the face! Isn't the world just so bleak?
I wouldn't say that.
It is!
Given the game's layout, there are several areas that slowly unlock over time, and the player decides where to go and when. Often, parts of a level or secret items and areas can't be reached without finding a particular item or power-up, making this more Metroidvania-like. Perhaps realizing this was a recipe for players getting lost, Arzette includes an overworld map with a visual cue, specifically an exclamation point, to indicate points of interest or places to visit. This can happen for both the main quest and certain side quests. There are several characters to meet along the way that need certain key items. Upon finding them, they show up in the inventory and usually have a description saying who to give them to and or where to take them.
You understand?
Clear as mud.
The generally user-friendly nature of the game is driven home by the option to save and exit to the world map at any time. That and various items like a ring, which, at the press of a button, can block projectiles. Or a set of potions which can restore health. Or a gun? I can only imagine how the enemies feel when they realize Arzette is packing.
I don't want to do this stupid shit no more. I'm tired of getting shot. Help!
If you have the itch for a good platforming, adventure, Metroidvania thing, I'd say give Arzette the Jewel of Faramore a run. If you're not trying to find everything, the game can be a bit short, but with the price of entry being $20, it's pretty low risk even without a sale going on. And if there is, well...
You struck luck, my friend.